Hi, welcome to Christina Speaks. I am excited to have Monica Reyes today with me here. She's going to tell us about Dream Iowa, an organization that she started. So welcome, Monica. Thank you for coming tonight.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
So Dream Iowa, I have seen flyers for some of your events and I have heard of it, but tell me a little bit about what motivated you to start it and what you do.
Well, there's a long story behind it. So my sister and I are originally from Mazatlan, Sinaloa, Mexico, and we both came here at really young ages. I came here when I was 3 years old, and she came when she was 1. And we came to the United States undocumented. So we've lived here in the United States most of our lives, 100% undocumented. And in 2012, we heard about DACA. And DACA was able to provide protection from deportation and also a work permit for the people that are able to qualify. And so my sister and I actually were really excited for the program because we had been really hoping for a more permanent solution through Congress in 2010, 2011 through the DREAM Act. That did not happen. So I actually was super excited when I heard about DACA, and especially because right before that, the same year, 2012, in May, I had announced to my mom that I was leaving the country. I told her I was going back to Mazatlan, Sinaloa, so that I could finish my education and then find more opportunities, because in the United States, I felt very limited in what I could do. Even once I graduated college, like what would I be able to do with that degree? I just wanted to feel more free, so you'd say.
Right.
So in May, I announced to my mom, and she begged me to wait. And I mean, I had a job lined up. Wow. I had in a language center. I had a place where I was going to live, and I had enough money to live for like 6 months.
Wow, so you really had it planned out. You were going back and you were going to start a new life.
Yes.
Wow.
The lady from the language center still contacts me to see if someday, if I change my mind, there's a spot open for me.
Wow.
in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, in the language school. And so I told my mom, I have all these plans. I'm not just winging it. I have a plan, and I'm leaving. And she begged me because that year my sister was turning 3 years old. My mom was hosting a presentación, una fiesta de presentación, which is when you're 3 years old, if you're Catholic, especially if you're Mexican, you have this little party. It's like a mini quinceañera.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a pre-quinceañera. Anyway, so my mom was planning this really big party, and she begged me, like, just wait for that party, wait for that event for your sister's third year party.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we'll see, what everything looks like at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I waited, and I thought, this would help me save more money, be a little more secure. So I told her, yeah, this is fine. And the lady that was waiting for me at the language center in Mazatlan,
Who is still waiting?
she was okay with it. So I was like, okay, I still have my job. We're still good. And so I just kept working. And then in July, the program was announced. And I remember my sister and I just could not believe it. We were just like, we had been seeing a lot of movement from immigrant rights organizers and activists, but we had been let down so hard after the DREAM Act that we didn't want to get our hopes up and then again be let down.
Right.
So we weren't too excited for it until we had like the formal announcement that it was going to happen. Like, this was going to happen, DACA, whatever that was at that time. We were just like, DACA, that's the best thing that we've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And so we applied for it. I think the program became available on a Wednesday. I think it was like August 15th, 2012. The application became actually available, formally available. We downloaded it. We filled it out. We didn't even get attorneys. We did it ourselves.
Wow.
And we had been collecting a lot of stuff. My mom, thankfully, has always carried a suitcase with her since the moment we arrived to California from Mexico. She has always taken a suitcase with her where she has collected documentation since the day we arrived of every year different months, different school records, medical records, different things to prove that we have been in the United States. So our homework of getting everything put together for the application was not so hard for us because of my mom. So we applied. Within the weekend of the week that it was available, our applications were in the mail.
Wow, you were on top of that.
Yes. And by October or so, by mid-October, it was like my birthday present. I remember my birthday's October 8th. And I think it was just like a little bit after, within a week afterwards, we got our approvals for DACA. And we were so excited, super excited. We right away got a driver's license and we're driving finally legally, which there's a story behind that. Maybe we'll get to it later. But super, super excited because for once in our life, we had some sort of identification to make us feel more Iowan, make us feel more American. So you could say we had some sort of protection from deportation. And then the head of the DOT, Department of Transportation of Iowa at the time, decided to stop issuing out driver's licenses to DACA recipients. And there was on record that there were a few already that had some, my sister and I included, and he wanted us to take them back.
Oh my God.
And so, I mean, can you imagine, like, you get a piece of a cake and then, like, they tell you, oh, give that back to me.
Oh,
it was
terrible.
It felt really bad. And
Of
so
course.
we started seeing that there was a lot of action and organizing around this in like trying to organize to stop that, basically to keep issuing out driver's licenses for DACA recipients. And we weren't able to be very part of it because we grew up in Northeast Iowa. New Hampton, Iowa is about 3 hours from Des Moines.
Okay.
And so it wasn't something easy that we could just travel down 3 hours. I mean, that's 6 hours to and from.
Right.
That was a whole day for us. So we couldn't be actively part of what was going on, but we wanted to know because this issue affected us.
Right.
And so I remember we were in our living room in New Hampton, Iowa, and we were like, man, how can we still be involved but remotely? And we're not the only ones. There's a lot of DACA recipients in rural Iowa. And so we, being millennials and all, created a group on Facebook called, at the time, Iowa Dreamers.
Okay.
And we did it with the hope that someday, our vision at that time was that someday this would be a statewide network of dreamers, immigrants, allies, attorneys, advocates, everything. People that were in favor of peace for immigrants in the state of Iowa. Mm-hmm. And so we organized the group. We added a bunch of our little friends. We had maybe like 60 people initially, maybe, not even probably. We probably had like 10 people. I don't know. It wasn't that many. But we, with our little network of immigrants, we tried to add as many as we could, and we would post information since my sister and I had applied for DACA, and a lot of people had not yet. We would share information of like, hey, these are the benefits. This is what you get from it. These are the documents you can gather. These are the documents you need to submit with it. This is what you need to prepare. This is how much it costs. People would submit questions. We would add attorneys and ask attorneys, hey, can you answer this? And then they would leave their contact information because in rural Iowa at the time, and I feel like it's still an issue, there's not as much access to immigration attorneys.
I would imagine that. Very
Yeah.
right.
For New Hampton, like the closest attorney was in Des Moines.
Wow.
That was a 3-hour drive. So it was a really good way to create access, communication statewide. And we would post a lot of Know Your Rights information too, because that's originally how I got into activism through another situation. But we did it. That's how Dream Iowa started, as a Facebook group.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So this was back in 2012. You got your DACA status. You started this group with your sister. There were maybe 10 of you. And now fast forward to today. What is Dream Iowa today?
Ooh, there's been a lot of things that have happened, workshops that we've done, community work. We have done everything that you could think of when it comes to immigrant rights. We've protested. We've been kicked out of events. We have bird dogged which bird dog is basically when you go to political events and you ask candidates on your issue, which for us was immigration, and we would try to have a whole team behind us where someone would be recording, somebody would do a follow-up question, people would be ready with a press release. We would just do things like that. We would travel across the state of Iowa doing workshops for universities, colleges and universities, on how to better serve the immigrant students. Because when I was in school at a university, I actually had never told anybody that I was undocumented. I didn't want to share that because I was vulnerable, right?
Sure.
So this is before DACA. And so finally one year, like I always went to school, I would save as much as I could, go to school, and then withdraw when my money ran out because I didn't have scholarships. I didn't have any federal aid. I had no money besides my own to pay for school.
Right.
And so when my money would run out, I would withdraw, then I would save again, go back to school, work, and go to school. And then when money was completely like out, I would have to withdraw again. So one of those times I was like, man, I should just look, just in case. Maybe there might be something that might be able to help me out. And so I finally worked up the guts and I went to a financial aid office at a university. And I came out to the lady. I said, hey, I'm looking for financial aid. I don't have any sort of status, but I really need the help. I really need some help for me to be able to finish my degree. And I will never forget what the lady told me. She told me, go to Google and look up scholarships for undocumented students.
So she had nothing.
Nothing.
Had no training. She was just not prepared for that at all.
Not at all. And I'm sure that she never would have...
Google's a great thing.
I'm sure she wouldn't, she never probably realized the gravity of her...
The hopelessness that she would have set forth with saying something. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh.
Yes. So for me, that advocacy at the state universities and colleges, private or public, I really wanted to make sure that the staff, whether they were in admissions, financial aid, professors, different schools, whether it was School of Business or art, that they were trained and they actually got to hear the experience of some undocumented students so that they're more aware. It's kind of like cultural competency, but with undocumented students.
Right.
That we would do across the state of Iowa. And we would do a lot of community forums also to invite community members left and right, no matter what your political background is or whatever. We wanted for people of all sorts of backgrounds to come to our forums and learn about the immigrant experience here in Iowa. We did a documentary in 2015. We would use that to hold forums across Iowa. We did a lot of different things. And then last year, 2018, we applied for 501c3 status. We had the luck of being referred to Drake Legal Clinic that they do. Thankfully, they help businesses, nonprofits be able to apply for whatever legal documentation they need to do to grow. And it's all free. That's the best part.
It's the best
You
price.
only pay your filing fee and that's it. But
Nice.
the students help you with all of it. So we were really lucky to be referred to them. And so we went to them. They helped us get the status. And going through that process of becoming a nonprofit really helped us define who we wanted to be. What do we see in our future? And we looked at the different services and things that are being done across Iowa in support of immigrants. And we thought, okay, this is taken care of, this is taken care of, this is taken care of. What can we really provide for immigrants in Iowa? And I also looked at my background, my sister's background, and other people that were starting to form part of the board. And we realized that we needed to work on developing wealth because I studied sociology in college. And in sociology, you study, society's problems. And one of the things that I noticed was that with any social problem, poverty amplifies like just magnitude of any social issue.
Right.
And so for me, I wish that the world didn't revolve around money, but the sad truth is that it does. The more money you have, the more power you have.
Right.
You can play against it, but it's kind of in vain.
Right.
So I thought, what can we do as a community to help with this? And my background is in the financial services. I am a mortgage lender in Des Moines. And so I have years of experience working in the financial world. I started as a teller and worked my way up to where I'm at now, which is mortgage lending. So I've done banking services, lending services, mortgage services. So now we focus on developing wealth for the immigrant community, helping stimulate that growth from generational poverty to generational wealth through financial capability, through leadership development, and through highlighting the experiences of immigrant Iowans.
Wow. So while all this is happening between 2012 when you started this Facebook group to 2018 when you became a 501c3, you were going to school, you were taking care of family, your mom who lived here, your sisters, working, and you were going around the state educating people. And you were doing this, so not as a 501c3. So I'm going to guess, just from knowing our community, that a lot of this was unpaid work.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of this came right out of your pocket.
Yeah, we actually never, we didn't get donations or anything like that. So I paid out of my own pocket to drive to these different colleges and universities to make all of these different forums. Like, I was so, I am so inspired that I wanted to do this. There was no holding me back, and money was not going to be it. I would just work more, pick up another shift, whatever it took to come up with the money. Now I've broadened my horizons a little more. I know that there has to be more sustainability. So we do fundraising, and we have a nonprofit to raise money to be able to build what we're working on. But at the time, yes.
Wow.
It was me putting my own gas money.
Mm-hmm. And since then, now you've grown into this nonprofit and you have a board of directors. Are they from all over Iowa?
At this time, different. There's one person that's living currently outside of Des Moines. But yes, everybody is from Iowa.
Very cool. So it's essentially a local board, a statewide local board. Mm-hmm. And do you still take on are you still going to these rural communities? Have you found that you do more work in Des Moines, or how has the geography of it changed?
So we are actually still very active in different parts of Iowa. So we want to always be reaching out to the rural communities, especially because I come from that background. I grew up in rural Iowa, Northeast Iowa. So I know that here in Des Moines, there are more resources available than there are in rural Iowa. And so I want to make sure that we always have a strong presence in rural Iowa. So we try to balance it out. So we're doing kind of 50-50.
So when you came out as a student, as a young person, you were, obviously it was a scary thing. And how have you helped other young undocumented, whether they're students or not, have that same conversation to advocate for themselves? What are some things that you have seen along the way as other people have come forward and said, hey, I am undocumented?
So I'm very public since 2012 with Dream Iowa, but more so in 2014, I publicly came out as undocumented in front of Steve King. He was holding a town hall in New Hampton, Iowa, and I went to it with a lot of friends. I think there were more people there for me than there were for him in our group. And it wasn't just Latinos. It was white people. It was everything, different age groups too. And we went to the town hall, and he was calling on different people. He talked to this one woman for like 5 minutes. She had the floor. And then I came up to speak, and he gave me about 2 minutes, and then he cut me off. He didn't even answer my question.
What a surprise.
And for me, it was, the first time I had come out as undocumented. For me, it was very emotional. And I cried a little bit, but my mom was sitting close to me. and she pinched me. And she's like, don't let him see you crying. Don't give him el gusto. Don't give him that pleasure of seeing you cry. And so I got my act together. I was like, okay, I'm not going to cry. But that was for me the first time I came out as undocumented. And I didn't know how big it was going to be. But for me, it was very emotional. I had my friends with me. I had some friends with me that are white that had, never really seen racism in that way, or just that kind of treatment towards others. And they were like crying. They were like, wow, we can't believe that he just treated you like that. And so it was very emotional for me. But then, because we already had Dream Iowa, we issued out a press release about this. Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier called me, and they were like, hey, we'd like to interview about this. They took pictures of me. They interviewed me. The lady loved the story. She wrote it up. She sent it, and it was going to be just a regular story in some of the pages of the newspaper. The editors loved it so much, they put it on the front page of a Sunday newspaper for them, for the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier. So when I came out publicly as undocumented, it wasn't just like normal, I came out with with one of the most vocal anti-immigrant congressmen in the United States of America, Steve King. And then I also happened to then get on the newspaper, front page of the Sunday newspaper. And so for me, my coming out story is very different, I think. So since then, I think that I've received a lot of support, a lot of love, but then also a lot of hate and a lot of negative comments, a lot of people that just are not willing to even sit down for a conversation and to talk about the issue. And so when I talk to other people, I'm so public about my status that I go to different events. I went to Alexito's Meet the Leader night last week, and all the students, they were like, hey, what's been the biggest obstacle you've had? And I always say it's being undocumented. And the students are like super surprised, like it's like jaw drop that they get to hear that someone's so public about it. And I tell them, it's a really rough situation. And then a lot of the kids then later open up to me, and they're like, hey, I'm undocumented too. Thank you for sharing that and for sharing your story. So I think that me being so public about it has maybe empowered other people to feel like they now know someone that's undocumented, that has maybe gone through the same experience, has gone through college, has gone through certain things that maybe they can then reach out to. But at the same time, I don't at all pressure anybody to come out as being undocumented, because there's a lot of baggage that comes with that too. I've received really nasty messages online. I don't even read the comments on articles. There's a lot of backlash too.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, and I can only guess that it's probably doubled or tripled since 2016, when immigrants have become, the scapegoat for things that make no sense to scapegoat anyone, let alone immigrants for. Have you seen a lot more negative reactions or more support since Trump has taken office and taken kind of this hardball stance on immigrants?
Honestly, I don't know if it's us just not maybe weeding out these things, but I haven't received anti-immigrant emails. I think that, so last year, the SF 481 anti-immigrant state legislation came out, and we as Dream Iowa organized an empowering video of hey guys, this is really bad and this sucks, especially for the undocumented community, but hey, look, we're stronger than this. We will overcome this. We will stick together. We will fight this. This is no reason to leave the state. We are here to stay. And this little video, it was maybe 5 minutes. It's on our Facebook page of Dream Iowa. I think it is my favorite video that we've done so far. We boosted it all over the state of Iowa. I think we had 300 something loves and the likes and loves and all of that. And we had, I don't know how many, I think the same amount of shares It was super cool to see the impact that it had. I had not boosted it, and it already was like spreading like wildfire. But just like it spread in a positive way, there were like 1 or 2 negative comments, but we just like delete it, block. But anytime someone has posted anything negative on our things, we delete it, block that person. But in general, I would say we have seen an overwhelming amount of support and love from Iowans. And I think that people are very in line with what we're trying to do, what our mission is, what our vision is for immigrants in the state of Iowa.
Have you, and this is a very personal question, you're welcome to say next question, have you ever received death threats?
So, no, not, I haven't received an like a death threat. I think that we've received threats that could be deadly. So you'd say we've done events where sometimes we started seeing commotion or emails or different things. I'll give an example. One time we were going to do an event in Waterloo, in Cedar Falls on UNI campus. And we were super excited about it. It was going to be, cultural, immigrants, stuff like that. And then someone flagged that there was like a Facebook group for Cedar Falls that's like one of those alt-right or neo-Nazi groups.
Sure.
And they were sharing our event.
Oh.
Like, people come to this event.
Oh, wow.
And so we were scared that someone would, you'd never know how people will react, how people will communicate. So I was worried that maybe someone could show up with some sort of weapon, right, or maybe be violent or disrupt our events, right, disrupt the peace. So we've had situations like that I know of. I don't think that I've received like death threats, but I will definitely acknowledge that I have definitely felt threatened many times. I remember when I would be really super active. I mean, I was in college when all of this was going on, when we were just taking off. We were on like CNN, we would be on Telemundo, we would be on Univision, we would be on MSNBC, all over. And this is while I was on campus, that I would sometimes be scared to be walking on campus by myself at night.
Right, I can imagine. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lately, there has been more awareness, and even the media, like entertainment, has picked up. This last season of Orange is the New Black took on detention centers and deportations, and even comedies. The show Superstore has a character from the Philippines who is undocumented and gets picked up at work. They raid this Walmart-like store and they take him. When you see things like that, do you feel like that further educates people, or do you feel like that is stereotyping the experience?
I personally have not seen any of the shows that are highlighting the immigrant experience, except for one. There's I forgot the name, but I think it's on Netflix. There was one on Netflix that highlighted the story of a Cuban family. Mm-hmm. So the Cuban family directly does not get affected by immigration, but the daughter of the mom, which is the main character of the program, she has a friend, her best friend, and her...
One day at a time?
One day at a time.
Moreno and...
Yes, one day at a time. That's the program.
I remember that. Yes. I remember that arc where her parents get deported or something.
Yeah, her dad, I think, or maybe it's both. I don't remember. But I remember that there's a deportation in her life. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, this character, this friend of hers, has to move to a different state. And so I thought it was cool that would be included into a program. I think that it was pretty realistic, because that does happen. Like when there's sometimes, a lot of times I feel like the parents don't want their kid to come back to their home country. They're a citizen. They have access to all of these different programs. resources, and so they leave their kids with family members wherever
Right.
that might be in the United States.
Right.
And so for me, that was like, wow, this is a little accurate on what the experience is like. It did not at all really dig deep into the issue.
Right.
So I wouldn't be able to say yes or no on how people depict it. I think it depends per show how they depict the issue, and then probably the decision makers, like who's writing these stories, who's producing this, who's directing this, what kind of experience or knowledge do they have on the issue.
Right.
But in general, I think that the issue of immigration has definitely surfaced to mainstream. And I mean, we have a president that won on a platform based on immigration.
Right.
And so immigration is a huge issue. For me, my mission, one of our goals as a nonprofit, Dream Iowa, we have a program called Immigrant Stories, Iowa Immigrant Stories. And our hope is to help take that public opinion and sway that, help grow that, open the eyes of people, help build some, I guess you'd say, knowledge on the issue of immigration, so that people can hopefully make some informed decisions on what their opinion is on the issue. Because a lot of times I feel like it's people just not having been exposed to the issue. Having it on media like Netflix and different channels and things like that, some people are like, wow, I never knew that, but I saw it on this channel, like on this episode of Orange is the New Black, or on this or that. I saw that this is what actually happens. Is that true? Or is that just like, are they just dramatizing this issue? And I'm like, no, that is legitimate. That is how the experience actually is. And people are like, wow, I did not know that. So I think in that way, if they're doing a good job of bringing this to the attention of people, that's great. Because that's one of our goals, is to help bring awareness on the issue of like what, for example, people think, well, why don't you just get to the back of the line?
Oh, that one drives me crazy.
Why aren't you legal yet?
Yes. Why don't you just do it the legal way? And they have no idea what that even means.
Right. And so we're trying to help raise that awareness of, well, it's a little more complicated. No, it's much more complicated than that. There really is no pathway. And so if we are able to see that kind of success from having the issue on media, on TV, on things like that, like, great, we need more of that.
Yes. I read Diana Guerrero's book where she talks about the deportation of her parents and how she stayed in the U.S. and how that affected her family and her. And then she played a character. She was in that Orange is the New Black season that took on immigration. And, as I was watching that, I had read her book, and I knew how personal it was to her, having lived through that in a different way. I mean, back then there weren't these mass detention centers being pushed in the way that they are, but just knowing how personal that was, I kind of felt like that was a victory for so many undocumented folks, that she could have been a part of that, and bring it to light in a way that, from what I know, and I am by no means an expert, but I do try and educate myself. It seemed like a very knowledgeable but personal way of showing what exactly is happening.
The reality.
The reality. And it's such a tip of the iceberg, though, what any media can show, because it's, as you know, it affects every part of your life, and there's no media that's really going to be able to show that, how it's affecting kids who are citizens, living with that fear of family members here one day, gone the next. You being that family member and living with the fear. And how do you protect your mental health when you are, especially now with all of this anti-immigrant rhetoric, knowing how much education needs to be out there and how much of this you've taken on your shoulders? How do you keep yourself from falling into the despair and the fear that comes around this topic?
Lots of wine. No, I'm kidding. Tequila.
Glad I can help you there.
Just kidding. Thankfully, I have a super awesome, unbelievably powerful mom that I can look up to and that I can go to. Mm-hmm. I do, though, think that since 2017, I've really had to learn to balance my life, because in college, I feel like my grades definitely suffered from being so involved. I mean, I was working full time, literally at least 40 hours a week. I was also going to school full time. I was doing Dream Iowa. I was helping with my family. It was just so much that at the time you feel invincible, like you can do anything and everything and bring it on. I can take it on was my attitude. And although it's all great and everything, you get a lot accomplished. You maybe fast forward a few years compared to other people. It eventually catches up.
Sure,
and so in 2017 was my year when I was going through a leadership program. I was also new to Des Moines, trying to take off a career as a mortgage lender. I was dealing with a new administration, increasing the amount of raids and detentions. I was newly married. I mean, just anything and everything. Buying a house, bringing my mom to Des Moines. There was just so much going on that year that I had to just cut off a lot of things. I had to just take some time and just, hey, think about it. Because my mom would always, throughout my whole college life, she would tell me, don't do too much. Before you can help anybody else, you have to be okay yourself. Like, what are you going to give people? Advice. Like this crappy Monica? You know, she was just very brutally honest with me my whole life. And so she would just tell me, you know, you got to really take it easy. Make sure you're good. That way you can give the best of you to other people. And really put a better effort on everything. And so that year I really took a lot of reflection. And whether for you it's having that hobby that takes your mind away from some of those complicated issues, whether it's therapy, whether it's meditation, whether it's whatever it might be, taking a vacation, having your you time. I think it's really important, where you just focus on you and yourself and your growth and reflection. I started incorporating that into my life, and I think it's really been helpful for me for being able to balance it all and not go crazy and not become an alcoholic.
That's important too. Yes. And so with Dream Iowa, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the workshops or the youth events. So tell me a little bit about how you bring students together from all over Iowa, what that day looks like, and what your goals are for that.
Okay. So I'll kind of go through our whole year as an organization. Okay. So we start the year with the Youth Leadership Summit in March. One time a year at Grandview University, we hold a summit where we bring in youth from all across the state of Iowa, middle school, high school, college. Parents and younger siblings are more than welcome too. Family members in general, no pets.
Abuelita's cool, but not
the little chihuahua.
Not the chihuahua.
But so we unite families really. One time a year, the kids come in, we welcome them, register them, we take all their information. As they're registering, we're taking inventory of what grade they're in, because if they're in 12th grade or in college, they're able to get into a raffle for scholarships. We raffle off scholarships at our Youth Leadership Summit.
Very
so
cool.
Just by coming, you don't even have to apply. Just by coming, you get entered into a raffle for scholarships. And so we do all that. Then they can help themselves to some lunch catered by my mom, Brenda Rodriguez. And then we let them into the theater, and we give them a welcoming, and then we announce the different workshops. We offer 8. We may be increasing that, but this year we offered 8 workshops, all of them focused on different careers, all of them focused on maybe financial aid or college opportunities, immigration. We have an immigration attorney that comes in, talks about his journey to becoming a lawyer, but then also immigration updates, like what's going on. Kids are able to ask him questions on their immigration status or this or that, get connected to him, things like that.
That's amazing.
I always see parents hanging around and asking him questions afterwards, like he's busy.
I imagine.
And then we have Know Your Rights. We have different leadership panels. Everybody that's a presenter, panelist, comes from an immigrant background.
Very cool.
So a lot of times you got to see it to believe it. So we try to make sure that we have immigrants that come from backgrounds very similar to the students that are there, to see, hey man, if this guy can do it and he's, survived war, he survived violence, he survived the whole trip from El Salvador to the United States of America, like, man, you can go get a 40-year degree. Right. Where no one's shooting at you, no one's abducting you, like you can do this. And so we try to bring in people that come from our backgrounds and have quite a story, honestly. Different stories, different backgrounds, different immigrants. We had representation from not just Latino American countries, but we had Asian and we had African also.
I was going to ask you about that, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep. And so so they go to 4 of the different workshops, they rotate, and then at the end they come back in. We have a keynote speaker. We've had Cesar Vargas, who is the first undocumented attorney in the state of New York, really good friend of mine. If you see this or hear this, hi Cesar. And then we had Kim Guerra last year, also hi Kim, and she is the CEO of Brown Badass Bonita, and she wrote a book, now has two books, empowering for women of color or kids of color. My sister, Chiara, and my niece, Sophia, have both been read or reading the book. So it's really cool. So after the keynote speaker, we then dismiss and people leave the auditorium. There's food. There's live music. Food is also catered by Brenda Rodriguez.
I love all these little plugs and name dropping.
Hey, she's my mom. I got to make sure I'm promoting her.
Yes, for sure. Shout out to mom.
And then we also have live music. So this year, we had Banda Los Traviesos. These are kids, I don't know, I think the youngest one maybe 5.
Oh, wow.
And then the oldest maybe 15, I don't know. And these kids are like a Mexican banda.
Are they the ones from Council Bluffs?
Yes, like Omaha, Council Bluffs area.
Yes, I've heard of them, but I haven't seen them yet.
They came and played at our Youth Leadership Summit this year. Amazing.
Cool.
So super cool, super empowering. And then lots of energy.
I bet. And off the stage, I imagine.
They're awesome. And so then we also have a resource fair. So the kids are able to walk down the hallway and come across all of these different tables that are offering some sort of resource, goodies. Last year, we gave away ACT books, like ACT study books.
Very cool.
And it was pretty cool. We do that event one time a year. It's our Youth Leadership Summit. We're always looking for more people to come, more families to be able to attend from all different parts of the state of Iowa. We have buses that come in. We have vans that come in. People take their kids. From my hometown, it was super cool. My hometown, New Hampton, Iowa. I had a family, it was like 2 or 3 moms. They brought like a little minivan load of students from New Hampton. And one of them won one of the scholarships. It was super cool. Nice. I was super excited. Those were randomly selected, by the way. I want this on record. I did not have my bias. Like, this is from New Hampton, I'll choose that one. No, not at all. So that's our Youth Leadership Summit, one time a year in March. And this is hosted at Grandview University. And then throughout the year, we do financial capability workshops. So we're naming them financial independence. So we teach everything and anything that has to do with money, credit, budgeting, financial planning. So we'll talk about what's a savings, what's a checking, what other banking services are there, like money markets, like CDs, other forms of saving your money, rates on dividends, things like that. We'll talk about banking services like online banking, mobile banking, bill pay, things like that. we'll talk about security. That's been one of the biggest questions in my workshops, is like people don't do mobile banking and online banking because they think it's not secure. But really, I mean, I always tell people, like, the financial institutions have so much money. Sometimes I would say they're more secure than the government. They're super secure. And so we do also talk about credit, like what's a credit score? Why is it important? How do I keep good credit? How do I build good credit? How do I repair bad credit? We talk about how do loans work? Like, what are they? How do they work? How do they affect our credit? How do I qualify for them? What does a loan officer look at for qualifying me? Everything that has to do with loans. We also talk about home ownership. How do you become a homeowner? And then we talk about, from there, we also talk about financial planning, because we hopefully will be able to retire someday. And what kind of money do you have set aside for that? So we even talk about that, like life insurances, retirement, 401k, IRAs, stocks, different ways you can invest. And we do those all across Iowa. We do them one-time seminars, 6-8 week seminars, like anything and everything in between we do for businesses, for community groups, for nonprofits, for church groups, for anybody that invites us. We will definitely.
Do you ever do them for like high schools or younger, or is it mostly for adults?
We are looking at doing some programming for some of the younger generation. We do a workshop in our Youth Leadership Summit about money, but we are actually looking at partnering with different groups, or schools actually, to do some family financial literacy classes.
Very cool.
Yep. So that's all year round. We do workshops in Des Moines and in rural Iowa. And then towards this time of the year, we do some sort of fundraiser. And this usually is like a banquet style. And in this event, it's our annual fundraiser. We try to invite people from all over the state of Iowa, do some leadership awards, and also just celebrate immigrants in Iowa and all of the different organizations and people that are involved with immigrant advocacy. And we also, throughout the year, are documenting the immigrant experience in the state of Iowa through that program. That's the one that I told you about, that we really want to help sway that public opinion in the state of Iowa, so that we can gain some more support and some more knowledge, a more knowledgeable population here in the state of Iowa on the issue of immigration.
Wow, which is a wonderful initiative, being that, Iowa's in the spotlight every 4 years. And then, of course, the media forgets that we're here unless they want to make fun of us. But for the most part, every 4 years they come and they really want to hear what people have to say. And it always just drives me nuts when they have people from Iowa who are misinformed and, just make it sound like we don't know what the hell we're talking about. But yet we're the first in the country with the caucus and all this attention and all these candidates. So I'm glad that you're spreading information that is accurate and promotes, the truth of what's going on, and allows people to make an informed decision when they are going out there and caucusing. That's, everything that you're doing, is very admirable, because I know that you still work full time. You're still a wife, mother, sister, and that, and everything that comes with that. But you can definitely tell in just talking to you where your passion and your heart is. And I think Iowa is very lucky to have you and everyone who works for, the goals and the mission of Dream Iowa. And if there's any way that, PT Media, DSM can help promote anything, I hope that you'll think of us as allies and supporters in what you do.
Thank you. We definitely have already talked about some different collaborations that we're going to be doing.
Yes,
so thank you.
Well, I didn't really know very much about Dream Iowa, but I had been seeing it for a couple of years. And I'm glad that I got this opportunity to learn more about what you do. And I'm very impressed and inspired, and hopefully can help And I'd like to know a little bit more about you, Monica, behind all of this work. That thankfully now is more of a team with your board and other people. So I'm glad that you're not still, bankrolling your own transportation to go all over Iowa and help. So I'd like to just take a moment to get to know a little bit more about you and five of your favorite things here in Des Moines now that you've made this home for you and your family.
So growing up in rural Iowa, which I love and I appreciate my experience there. I was the first Latina to go to high school there. Really, we were like the first ones to be in the public school system, I think, and the first one to graduate from high school. But growing up in New Hampton, we didn't have access to like that many Latino businesses or going somewhere to an area where you just speak Spanish everywhere you go and you know all the little business owners. And so for me, it was something that I always dreamt of like maybe someday living in a community where I would see more Latinos and I would be able to go and speak Spanish everywhere I went. And that's something that I really love about Des Moines, is that I mean, even where I live, the neighborhood I live in, Capitol Park neighborhood, we have a lot of Latinos and a lot of immigrants in general in our community, and it's super cool to see. I live right next to un taquero.
Oh, nice.
Not good for diets, but there's some pluses there. But so I mean, I love that part of Des Moines. Let's see a little more about me. So I mean, I'm just really, really passionate about developing wealth for immigrants, for people of color, for women. So for me, the financial literacy, all the information that I have stored up in my brain, like I love sharing it. It's something that I'm passionate about. So I think that here in Des Moines, there's so much opportunity for me to do that, and to do that with large groups of people, whether it's youth or adults or whatnot. I love that I'm able to have a big platform here in Des Moines and be able to share that information that I know a lot of people can benefit from. Like all the information that I know as an insider working in the financial services, I want more people to know. It's not like I'm trying to keep it a secret. I want everyone to know about this so that they can make more informed decisions and hopefully have a more financially secure foundation for their families and be able to pass on that generational wealth and hopefully see every generation moving forward, just growing and growing. You want to see your kids do even better than you. Right. That's a big vision that I have for immigrants here in the state of Iowa. I'm already seeing it. I mean, I'm the daughter of an immigrant that came to the United States with the vision of providing a better future for her daughters. And that is exactly what she has been able to accomplish. And that's the future I want to see for every immigrant that lives here in the state of Iowa. I love to dance. I love music. My husband's a musician, Fernando, you know him. Mm-hmm. And I have no musical talent. I can't sing. I can't play any sort of instrument, but I love to dance. So that's something I really love about Des Moines, is that there's a lot of nightlife. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things to do all the time and live music events that I get to, you can just go and experience. Let's see, what else? Here in Des Moines, I don't know, just the community in general. I think that there's a lot of diversity that I did not grow up with. There's a lot of diversity, a lot of opportunities. We are a center for a lot of things going on, whether it's politics, whether it's insurance services, financial services.
Got lots of that, yes.
Technology. I mean, we have Google and Facebook. I mean, there's just so much going on. Millionaires here in Des Moines. It's super cool to see the concentration of talent, money, impact that you see coming from Des Moines. Little Des Moines, Iowa has a very large footprint, not just nationally, but I think globally. Yeah. And it's really cool to be part of that.
Wow, you've had some really unique and really introspective favorites.
Yeah.
So, like I'm going like, oh yeah, I never thought about that, but that is, yeah, I guess like you're a very good cheerleader for Des Moines.
Yeah. I plan to stay here for a long time, so I'm trying to convince myself. No, I'm just kidding.
I know that struggle, Mija. I do.
Just kidding.
You're like, well, not really, but yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun to get to know you better and to learn more about Dream Iowa. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast tonight. Thank you for tuning in and learning more. And Monica, if people would like to know more information or support Dream Iowa, where can they go to find that?
Thank you, Christina, for inviting me and for allowing me to have this platform to share not just my story, but the story of Dream Iowa, which is like my baby.
It sounds like it.
And for also doing everything that you do. I mean, this is a really great platform for not just women, but people, leaders in the community. So thank you for everything that you're doing for the community and having this platform for people and for everything that you've done. I know that you too are quite a chingona in the community. And I know that you have definitely been supportive for different situations for me. And I really appreciate them. I definitely see you as a leader and as someone that people can look up to.
Thank you.
So how can people contact Dream Iowa? So you can find us on Facebook. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group. It still exists. And we also have our Facebook page. So we have a Facebook page, Facebook group. You can find us as Dream Iowa. We're also on Twitter, yes, but we're not really active. I'm not a big Twitter person, but maybe someday we'll get someone on our board that is. But also on Instagram. We're on Instagram also. So, and we have a webpage. It's www.dreamiowa.us.
Oh, okay.
So you can find us and find ways to donate to us and to our cause through there. You can Venmo us. You can make a deposit into our account. You can do PayPal. You can make a donation on our website. There's many ways that you can make a contribution, but then also find ways to be involved. We're always looking for collaboration. If you know of a program that might be helpful for our Youth Leadership Summit, or you know youth in a different community that might be interested in the event, or know a community that may be interested in having Dream Iowa come and do our financial literacy workshops, we are more than happy to look at collaborating with you and looking at those opportunities.
Do you have a calendar on there for like the summit or the fundraiser on there as well?
Yes,
yes.
Good. So on our website, you can find our calendar. You'll be able to find all of the upcoming events, the workshops, pictures, everything.
Very good. Well, so I invite you to check that out. That's www.dreamiowa.us.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So hopefully you can find them on social media. You can share and like and get informed and involved and visit their website so that you can become more involved in their events or financially support them if you're not one to be out and about, but you believe in what Monica and I have been talking about this evening. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.